Rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Malik, educationist, business and management consultant. I welcome to all of you to my talk show. Today, I'm going to talk about a very important topic. All topics are important, but this is a topic which is an eye opener. And sometimes we don't feel its sanctity, its depth, or its consequences. And that is food wastage. We all know that even we individual, we waste a lot of food on daily basis. And maybe there are some exceptions to that. Generally, when we buy the grocery and food stuff, we buy in bulk to meet our 1 week, 2 weeks requirement, or sometime more. And then we put them in the refrigerator or deep freezer, and we forget. So a lot of food is rotten in our refrigerators. The dates are expired, they are over frozen, and when we cook again more than what we need, and the leftover, which we could not be able to eat on daily basis at our breakfast, lunch or dinner, and then that remaining cooked food, we put it in the refrigerator again, and we forget. And that food keeps on lying there in the refrigerator, and we cook a fresh one, another one, and ultimately that food which was cooked and put in the refrigerator, ultimately that is garbaged. Now this is a personal experience. Even you have all that experience. The same thing has happened in the hospitality industry, hotels, motels, restaurants. And if you want to do an experience, then go out and lift the lids of all those garbage cans which says that the green one, the kitchen waste or organic, and you can realize that how much cooked food is being garbaged. I will share with you some statistics which I've taken from Stat Canada, and these statistics are for the year 2024, an update, and under the title, The Avoidable Crisis of Food Waste. And that reports estimate that about 46.5% of all food produced in Canada is wasted every year. Of that total, approximately 41.7 is avoidable food waste. That means we can avoid. And I'll talk about how we can avoid that. Food that could have been eaten but was instead thrown away. That we can avoid, as I just said in my opening remarks. Avoidable food wastage in Canada is valued at roughly $58 billion annually. It's a mind-boggling figure. $58 billion annually, and reflecting both economic and environmental impact. I will talk about this, that this wastage is resulting to what is going to be the impact on our life, on our country, on the world as a whole. And other research says that around 58% of all food produced becomes lost or wasted, equivalent to roughly 35.5 million tons of food annually. These are the big figures. How much food is wasted at the household level, at our domestic level every day, which we are also involved in that, myself. So, Statistics Canada does not directly publish household food waste totals each year, but other research referred by Canadian agencies suggest the average Canadian household waste between 79 kilograms and 140 kilograms of food per year. Average household. At national level, household food waste has been roughly 2.2 to 2.3 million tons of eatable food annually. According to the National Zero Waste Council's findings, food loss and wastages under the head include losses across the whole supply chain. Now, the supply chain means right from the producer point, from our field, agriculture, and starting from that, passing through different channels, transportation, storage, bulk storage, and to the retail outlets, and from the retail outlets to the household, so that we call a supply chain. From one farm losses, processing, retail, unsold food to consumer waste. So it's not even bought by the consumer. A lot of food is wasted in stores and retail outlets because every food item has its life. And many food items, their life is expired. And under the Canadian laws, that expired food cannot be sold. They should be garbaged. They should be thrown out. And experience also shows that many stores, grocery shops, they were found selling stale products, an expired product, and that was experienced during the COVID time. That in COVID, we all know that people rush to the grocery stores and other supplies to buy in bulk, to have lot of quantity to keep home, to store them, in a fear that under the circumstances these items will not be available because the whole supply chain would be affected. As a result of that, even the stale items, as I'm telling you my experience, stale items, expired items, food items, even they were purchased by the people. So, this is the situation, that how much food is being wasted. I would share some statistics with you. Canadian annual food waste in Canada. The government-sided research on food loss and waste says 11 million tons avoidable, which is 20% of food produced, that goes wasted. Second harvest report 2024 update shows that 46.5% food produced wasted, that is avoidable, and out of 46.5% that is wasted, the avoidable, which would have been saved, was 41.7%. Earlier comprehensive estimate tells us that 35.5 million tons, that means 58% food, that is wasted. Household edible food waste is 2.3 million tons per year. So this is a situation. Now this is the one of the results of this wastage is negative results, and impact is that this wastage is leading to scarcity, shortage, and scarcity in economics language, scarcity leads to hike in prices. When demand is more and supply is less, that is the fundamental principle of economics, demand and supply. The principles of demand and supply sets the prices. So if demand is more, supply is less, certainly prices will go up, and that results into inflation. And that can further lead to deflation. And that is a very serious situation. So these figures are inviting our attention that we should do something. This is the reason that our household budget is going up, and then we are crying that prices are going up, skyrocketing. It's unaffordable now when we compare our income and expenditure, because we are not giving attention to these wastages. We can save this. The emphasis was in these statistics avoidable. In buying, our buying behavior, buying pattern, buying habits, then our cooking habits and behavior, and then our storage, then putting the stuff into refrigerators and deep freezers, and then we forget, and they become stale, and after that those are thrown in the garbage, that we don't have an even little feeling, bad feeling, that what we are doing, we are throwing our hard-earned money into the garbage cans. And it happens everywhere, even in my house. I mean, we are not exceptions. So this is a very alarming situation. I will share more things with you. Just bear with me. Now that was the situation of Canada. So let me share some statistics of food wastages worldwide. The Global Food Wastage Statistics 2024 and 2025 reveals that about 1.05 billion tons of food are wasted every year at the consumer level, retail, food servers, household level. Roughly 19% of all the food available to consumers globally. So this wastage is everywhere, throughout the supply chain. And now this concept of management of supply chain is being taught now as a curriculum. And this is a part of now hospitality management, the courses, the programs which are being offered by different college universities, that we have to save them. And another estimation is that 1 billion meals are wasted every single day. 1 billion meals are wasted every day. And we know that. We have experience, whether at our home, when we put the stuff in our plate to eat, we don't finish it. And the balance, the remaining, that goes to the garbage. Similarly, when we go to hotels and restaurants with family and friends, we order a lot of food and we don't consume it fully. And then sometimes people ask them to pack it, and there are families and people, they feel shy getting it packed, and that leftover food unconsumed, which we make the payment, that goes to the garbage. And we know that billions of people are dying of hunger, and they are having a food scarcity. So these food losses which we are having and experiencing every day from farms, through transportation, this is not just a wastage, this is not just a waste of item and the money, it's a wastage of the resources, and resources are scarce. Can you imagine, in order to grow 1 grain of food, how much effort is put into that? The serious thing, and the thing which bothers me, is that when we do this practice, the throwing the food which we would have avoidable into the garbage, we don't have any bad feeling. We don't feel sorry. And we throw it. Just it's a normal thing. And other side, we are blaming to the government that government is not controlling the prices. The prices are going up. The grocery shops, they are increasing the prices because it is creating scarcity. I go further, that who wastes food, I give you some breakdown and statistics. Number one, we can start from household. The household are the largest contributors to waste, making up 60% of food waste globally. 60% household, we. About 631 million tons per year. per person, household waste roughly 79 kg of food annually on average. So this wastage occur at different level, which I just told you, and I can repeat that even people of low income, it's not that the people with higher income or rich people they are wasting, even people with low income. So that is, this wastage is lack of proper storage, refrigeration and planning. And then next is food service, restaurants, hotels and cafes. So this food service sector accounts for about 28% of consumer level food waste. 28% is wasted at the restaurant and hotel and cafe level. About 290 million tons of food items. The industry report shows restaurant can waste 4% to 10% of the food they buy, and 30 to 40% of served food may go uneaten. And we have seen in our marriage parties, in our functions, in our fundraiser events, wherever we are serving food, and it's a paid food most of the time by ticket. So people put a lot of food on their plate. I know, even in my friend circles, in my relatives, and even when we see that they put a lot of, because there are many items which are served. So there's other issues that when we have lot of item being served, like in buffet and others, so it's a human nature that we keep on having little portion of all, and by the time your plate is full, and we make a mountain on our plate. And that experience shows that 50% maximum, 2/3 is eaten, and 1/4 that goes to the garbage. That is which we put on our plates. And what about the remaining? Where generally these restaurants, these hotels, and on the parties, and they always cook a food in more quantity so that it should not be there should not be any shortage. So that remaining food over a period of time, because it takes 4, 5, 6 hours. So as per the food safe, Fraser Health food safe requirements, that remaining food cannot maintain the required temperature, heating temperature and cooling temperature, so they cannot keep it and they have to throw it out. That goes to the garbage. And ultimately it creates another problem. Now this garbage and the containers, then they are to be taken to the landfill. And it's a serious issue. The waste management is a very serious issue in big cities. Even in Surrey, even in Vancouver, even in other cities of the world, this is a very serious issue and challenge being faced by the municipalities and local government, because they don't have enough landfill and they have to travel far away, at a far distance from the city to throw this garbage, and increasing a lot of cost. We can imagine. So then next one is retail and grocery. So retail waste, that is unsold produce, expired food, cosmetics, rejections, make up about 12%. That means 131 million tons of consumer level waste. And we must have experience when we go for shopping to the grocery stores or shopping centers. They put certain items on reduced price, 10% off, 30% off, 20%. And when you look at that, those food items, they are very close to the expiry date. That only expiry date is around a week. So they want to sell it so that they can make money. And if they are not sold before that expiry date, then under the law, they have to garbage it that. So what a wastage. Then the supply chain and post-harvest loss. So other than the consumer wastage, about 13% of food is lost between harvest and market due to spoilage, poor storage, and logistic gaps. And I know that because I have a lot of experience in logistic management, transportation as a consultant, and I have personally experienced that how much food is wasted, how much produce is wasted during transportation. Generally, most of the produce, the Canada imports from USA, LA, and the produce is, when it's transported in the refrigerated vans, not in the dry vans, refrigerated vans, and the required amount of temperature must be maintained, and if it's not maintained, a little higher and lower, that affects the produce. And when that reaches to the importer's end, vendor's end, when they check it, when they do the inspection, they reject it because the required temperature was not maintained, and now that produce has developed some ice crystals, and they refuse to accept that supply. And then those items, they are not thrown away because there is an insurance claim. Because all these transportation, they get the transit insurance and they lodge insurance claim. So insurance company, they pay the claim and they take that stuff and they sell it to the small restaurants, shops, grocery shops at a throwaway price. I am witness of that. I'm telling you based on my experience. That's why I say my talk to you is a lifetime experience which I'm sharing with you. And I've seen, experienced that in the evening, there are people in this business, they buy this stuff and they put those in their vans and they go to these small restaurants or small grocery shops and they sell it at throw price. I've seen one carton of tomato, when the supply is rejected, they used to be sold for $5, $10. And then these supplies which are rejected by the importer because they cannot sell to the big grocery stores or shopping centers or hotels and big restaurants because there is a quality control. And this, when it is used in cooking and in pizza and all that, with adding lot of spices and making it very delicious, We say, yeah, wow, we enjoy it. This is my experience, personal experience I'm sharing with that. So, isn't it mind-boggling? I'm sure, I don't know whether you have thought it before or not. So why this food waste matter? Before I talk on this, I will also, because in our Holy Quran, it's stated in the Holy Quran, the God, Allah has warned us, told us, there are verses of holy verses in the Quran about this food wastages. And one verse is, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. The God, Allah says in the Holy Quran, say, yes, you have a freedom to eat and drink, but don't overdo, don't waste it. Because wastage will result into scarcity. And there are other verses, I will just recite with you, that Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tuharrimu tayyibati ma ahallallahu lakum wa la ta'tadu innallaha la yuhibbul mu'tadin. The translation is, O you who believe, forbid not the wholesome thing which Allah has made lawful for you, and do not exceed the limits. And all those things which are made you halal, eatables, you can do that, but don't remain in the limit, don't cross the limit, don't overspend, don't waste them. Allah love not who commit excess. Allah doesn't like those who waste the resources. Another verse is وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. The translation is, prodigal, Allah love not the prodigals. That means Allah doesn't love those who do overspending. They buy more what is not required. They cook more which cannot be eaten. Allah doesn't like that. Another verse is, Innal mubazzirina kanu ikhwana ash-shayatini wa kana ash-shaytanu li rabbihi kafura. This is for the spendthrifts, overdoers. The squanders are ever brothers of the evils, and the devil is ever an ingrate to his Lord. That means the people who do overspending and wastages, they are the brothers of Shaitan. So, respected listeners, this also, it's not liked by Allah, the God. And we are told that we should not waste the resources. Because if we keep on wasting a lot of resources, it will create scarcity, prices will go up, and the people who cannot afford to buy, the low income, the segment of our society and community world over, then they would not be able to buy because they don't have that much money and then they will starve. And they will not be able to get the required calories even for their children. And even in Canada, the statistics says that around 40% of our children are below the poverty line. That means we have a different poverty line in Canada as compared to other developing countries or poor countries. And that's the reason that the food bank, there is a long lineup is seen on every day, because I know I'm involved with that Surrey Food Bank as a volunteer. And they are crying, the food banks are crying that we cannot meet the increasing demand. And it's not only the poor, it's not only the homeless people, they are standing in the line to get food items, even the people of middle income and lower income people. Because it's getting very hard for them to meet the ends, because prices are skyrocketing and income level is not increasing. And they're constantly appealing the people to get more donation, to meet the demands. The demand is increasing. And that's a very alarming situation in one of the fifth largest or seventh largest rich country of Canada, that this situation is happening in our cities, in our community and society, and it is increasing every day. And on contrary to that, we are doing lot of wastages, and we don't feel shy for doing that. So it leads to food insecurity and hunger. Roughly 783 million people are chronically undernourished. 780 million the world over. Chronically undernourished, and about 1 in 3 people face food insecurity. And this food insecurity is increasing day by day. Then it can further affect economic cost and inflation. The food waste contributes to higher prices and inflation pressures, I told you, because it results into scarcity. The production is unable to meet the increasing demand. And when this situation is, as per the economic principle, demand and supply, certainly prices will go up and will go out of the reach of the common person. Food that could be consumed is removed from available supply. Producers and retailers pass the cost of waste production, handling, disposal onto the consumer. So everything, ultimately, who is going to bear the brunt? It's ultimate consumer. Ultimate, we, household, we pay the price. Ultimate consumer. We are the ultimate, because ultimate consumer is the consumer who only consume it, who's not buying for resale. So that is the definition of ultimate consumer, that final consumer. They cannot transfer that to anybody else. So globally, wasted food represent an estimated amount $1 trillion annual economic loss, 1 trillion, mind-boggling, 1 trillion, which could have been saved. So 1 trillion annual economic loss across supply chain and consumer market. And it's also going to, not only it's increasing the cost and expenses and shortage and food insecurities, but that is going to a serious impact and effect on climate and environment. So food wastage accounts for 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emission. And this greenhouse gas emission resulting into change of climate. More than entire aviation emissions and squanders almost 30% of global agriculture land. And then we have to see how food waste contribute to inflation, increase in price, getting out of the reach. So reduction in effective supply. When significant volume of produced food are wasted, the effective supply shrinks and demand is increasing. Even if production level stays the same, contribution to upward pressure on food prices because the users are more, population increasing. But supply is not matching with the increase in demand. So how much cost can be absorbed, increasing cost can be absorbed by all the partners and element of the supply chain. They can absorb up to a little extent because there are disposal costs, inefficiencies, markdowns, and it can affect your supply chain. So that reflects in higher grocery and food service prices. Because our incomes are not matching with inflation. So inflation, that's why inflation is a problem. If prices are increasing and income is also increasing, and there is an equilibrium level, then there is no problem, there is no challenge. But it cannot happen. Because when you increase the income, prices will further go up. So, as a result, food production disruption, drought, flood, heat, stress, reduced yield, further shrinking supply, and pushing prices higher and higher, making them out of the reach of lower and middle class families, making their life difficult. So there is a compounding effect of the wastage. So I will stop it here. Now you would have realized that what we are doing, and it is wise, it is intelligent, it is prudent to waste the food, the putting our hard money in the garbage and creating scarcity, inflation, and making the life of the people difficult, those they cannot afford to buy. I think the people who are wasting, doing this such wastage, they are also responsible for the difficulties which are being faced by the low income people. Because ultimately they are the loser. Ultimately they are the sufferers. I think we have to take it very serious. We should start it today. And we have to make a commitment to ourselves. And we have make a resolution. Let's make a resolution of 2026 and for all the times to come that we will manage the food waste. And we will ensure that even one grain should not be wasted. So we should wisely spend our money on food items, on grocery, and bring them home and store it properly and cook whatever, how much we want to eat. Not just showing off, not putting 10 items on the table just to show that we are very rich. Fine. If we can consume all those 10 items, that is great. Alhamdulillah. But if some portion of that or major portion of that ultimately that goes to the garbage, then maybe we will be held accountable and answerable. And certainly we will be in the light of the holy verse, Kulu washrabu wala tusrifu. But if we will waste it, we will be held accountable in front of Allah, God, on the day of judgment when we go from this world. So I'll continue the remaining. This is just an eye-opener. Open your eyes and create a realization and making us responsible. And I would request you that share this talk in particular with all your contacts. Let's start a move. Let's help in reducing the hunger and wastages in this world. I think if we do, we are going to make a great contribution for the humanity, for this planet. So may God bless you. Thank you so much for your patience listening. And again, I always say, take care of your health. Don't overeat. Don't do overeating. Okay. I know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advised us that make 3 parts of your stomach. 1 for food, 1 for empty, for air churning, and 1 for water. So 3 portions. And if we apply on this advice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will not fall sick. Less eating is better than overeating. Okay? I'll continue because this is a very important topic and I have to cover all those aspects. And I request you, please don't miss my following these talks. I will keep on doing tomorrow and day after tomorrow until I finish it properly. So I always say, let's work for the community. Let's build the community collectively and hand in hand. And the developed community means it's our development. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.